Hello and welcome back to day 2 of South by Southwest. I'm your host, Wajahat Ali, and this is the South by Southwest studio. We have a star-studded lineup of guests who will be stopping by today and throughout the week, including the cast of Girls 5 Eva, skateboarding superstar Tony Hawk, actor and Olympic figure skater Adam Rippon, and many, many more. Tune in as we will be back throughout the day and over the next week talking with some of the world's most fascinating and interesting people. And as such, our first guest is actor and comedian and now Linoleum salesman, Jim Gaffigan.
Yes.
Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for being here.
having me.
We are live for the first time in 2 years. We're with human beings, and it's still a pandemic, but it's good. It's good to see you in person. I'm not Zooming you.
It's nice, right?
Right.
It's like, it's human interaction. We didn't realize what we were missing. It's nice.
It's nice. You like use our senses here, and
Right.
you know, we'll be no feeling, but it's.
But you can sense, rather than like on a Zoom, everyone kind of looks like they've been kidnapped. So it's nice to get a sense if someone's feeling warm and friendly, which you are, which is very nice.
Thank you, sir. Did you ever have the room raider when you did the Zoom?
I did, you know, for CBS Sunday, I did commentaries from home, and so they raided my room, and of course, it looked like I was in a palace because my wife designed our apartment. We have like a chandelier, and the way my iPhone was set up.
That's Rust Belt. That's very middle class. Everyone has a chandelier.
But it was just, it looked ridiculous because it did look ridiculous. So
Did the chandelier at least get you like a 9 or a 10?
I think it was kind of up there. It was kind of up there. Actually, I think Mo Rocca did a thing on it too, on CBS Sunday, about how ridiculous Room Raider is and how that's where we are in the pandemic, because that's what we had to entertain ourselves.
This is how you ranked yourself in the hierarchy of America, sir.
Yes.
I got a 9 and a 10, so I just want to say, and no chandelier.
Well, the whole, there is something weird about, like there were some like Zooms, like when people have trophies in the background, like that feels a little bit like, I think it's great you won that Emmy or that Tony, but like, I don't know if you need it back there.
You could flex. I want to get into this because you're talking about flexing, and we're going to talk about your movie.
Yeah.
But you, sir, are the first comedian to have 1 billion, that's with a B, pinky in the mouth, 1 billion streams on Pandora.
I know, it's crazy.
That's the 1 billion streams. 1 billion times people have clicked on your face and said, I want to listen to this man.
It's, we live in this streaming age. It was a big surprise to me because, I am not really streaming that much music or comedy myself, but there's a lot of people that consume it. And Pandora, they sent me this plaque, 1 billion streams. I don't even know how that's possible. But there's all these streaming platforms that I'm sure people watching this are like, this is all obvious, but like I had heard of Spotify. Spotify's in the news, but Pandora's huge.
No, it's big. And so do you get to flex with your kids? You're like, your dad has 1 billion streams. I am cool. Damn it.
Now it's like,
no, it doesn't work.
My kids don't. I mean, I think my now 16-year-old son was really excited because when I hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, they send you a plaque. And so he was impressed by that. But that's probably the only thing any of my kids have been impressed by.
You got something, though. You got something.
Yes.
So you're known as a comedian, but you're also a dramatic actor. And in this movie, Linoleum, I don't even want to spoil it. So I'm going to...
Oh, so you watched it.
So we saw it. And so it's... because there's comedy, it's a middle-aged drama, where you're having a midlife crisis. There's a science fiction, fantasy element to it.
Yeah.
You're a middle-aged dad having a midlife crisis, and there's a space relic that falls in the yard, and you're like, I'm gonna make a shuttle, and I'm gonna have a dream to go in space as an astronaut. And your family's like, what? WTF? What's happening to you?
Yeah. So
but it's even more complicated than that, without me giving it away.
Yeah, it is. It's tricky to describe because you obviously don't want to give away. Like the last 10 minutes of this movie, I think are pretty special, and so. But it is one of those things where you're capturing it perfectly, where we all kind of have these dreams that we had our whole life, that we reach a point where we're like either going to bail on them, we're going to adjust to them. But this guy decides he always wanted to be an astronaut, and he decides that he's going to go to outer space. A rocket landed in his backyard, and he's scientifically knowledgeable, so he's going to make it a rocket that can go to outer space, which is insane. And so
crazy things are happening right now.
yes.
But yes, I would think if a rocket lands in any neighborhood,
Yeah.
a dad just going there, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to fix this myself.
Yes.
But no mission control.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you mentioned the last 10 minutes. It takes on resonance.
Yes.
Without giving the spoiler.
Yeah.
And so, what was it about this particular vehicle? Because it's not, I'm looking at this. I'm like, this is not the traditional Jim Gaffigan vehicle. When I see Jim Gaffigan, I'm like comedy monster, Netflix.
Yeah.
1 billion streams, Pandora, Hot Pockets, for better or worse.
Yeah.
What was it like? You got presented this opportunity. You're like, I'm going to jump on this.
Yeah, I mean, I love acting, and I love, in particular, indie films, because it really is this opportunity to craft things. I mean, if you act on a television show, it's fun, but when you're doing an indie film, it's like 6 weeks of camp where you're kind of figuring it out. There's a collaborative spirit. Obviously, you want to fulfill the writer and the director's wishes, but often you can come up with some ideas that they might use. So, and I love dramas because there's some complexity to it. I mean, comedy's really fun. It's a different discipline, but I always love the idea of kind of disappearing in different characters. I know that sounds corny, but
I mean, that's what an actor does, right? And,
yeah,
and you're a storyteller, essentially.
Yes, and as a comedian, I've always had kind of this inside voice, which is kind of portraying someone in the audience. So I love kind of embodying someone else's point of view.
And people might not know this, but this is not a new stretch for you. You've also done roles in Tesla, Chappaquiddick.
Yeah.
I did research for this. You're
Oh,
also, you did a little bit of work. You're also in the upcoming Peter Pan.
Yes, yes.
Can you tell about what role you're playing there?
I play Mr. Smee.
All right.
A very good-looking version of Mr.
Yes, of course.
Smee. And Jude Law is Captain Hook, and there's a bunch of great kids that play Peter Pan and Wendy and the boys. So it's from David Lowery, who is just
Green Knight was
amazing. And so he adds a real interesting reinterpretation of this story, which obviously Peter Pan needed to be reimagined. It's anyone who's a parent has sat down to watch Peter Pan with your kids, and you're like, holy cow! Because they did it in 1939. You're like, wow! Yeah. There's sometimes you watch a movie and you're like, all right, we can ignore that. The kids don't notice it, but
nowadays it's like, ugh.
Yeah. So and David Lowery he's just got a gift for communicating the subtleties of a character, like you saw in Green Knight. I mean, Dev Patel was amazing in that. So
crushed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that did you, by the way, was it between you and Jude for Captain Hook? Was it in the
it was I was going for Wendy, but they gave me Mr. Smee.
Next time. You speak about kids. There are 2 stars in this movie, Linoleum.
Yes.
Budding superstars, Mike and Patrick Gaffigan. Where did you discover these 2 brilliant young actors?
It's so fun. So, by the way, we shot this at, I don't know how we would describe it, peak pandemic maybe?
Shot it during the pandemic.
Pre-vaccine.
Wow.
But long enough into it where we were very terrified. You're a New Yorker, right? New York area?
Virginia.
So it's like, New York, it was really, we were hit hard. So people were extra paranoid. My wife is high risk. So there was this do we do things? Do we not do things? So what was amazing about this project is we didn't really know if we were going to figure it, because the laws were changing, and we knew if someone tested positive, we'd have to shut down. And with indies, you can't really do that.
It's DIY, man.
Yeah.
Run and gun.
And so, Ray Seahorn's so good in this movie. And so
She plays your wife.
Yeah, she plays my wife. And she came in from California. And the whole plan was that she was going to go back and do Halloween with her kids and then come back. But because the laws were changing so much, they were like, if you go back, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And so...
And that, for an indie movie, that's death.
That's death. I mean, especially when you're doing it in like probably 18 days.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
So it was a family affair, like literally.
It was, yeah, and it was so
with
great.
with the risk of a pre-vaccine pandemic.
Yes.
Shoot.
And so it was, they knew that my kids were, and they play smaller parts, but they knew that they were, you know, they weren't going to school because my wife was high risk. So it's like anyone who came on the set, they had to make, you know, there was testing every other day, but it was also kind of like, is this going to shut down our production?
And thankfully it didn't. The
Yes.
movie's made.
Yes.
And you were talking about the pandemic and how it's, you know, the pandemic flattened all of us, but unequally. But everyone's still responding. We're still in a
Yes.
pandemic. You know, people
Yes.
think it's over. 6 million people have died, right? And we're about to hit this tragic milestone in America, 1 million, right? And it's you know, a lot of people are rediscovering their lives. They're like, it's a pause, and they're like,
Yeah.
what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And you talk about how you also had kind of like a midlife crisis during the pandemic. You move upstate.
Yes.
And you've talked a lot about being a New Yorker with like 500 children.
Yes.
I'm amazed that none of your children got lost, by the way. That's the fact that like you lived in New York with like 5 kids and all of them are still alive. That's,
yeah, it's insane. It's
and
insane.
you moved upstate, you took
Yes.
up gardening.
Yes.
And also you filmed a comedy special during the pandemic.
Yes.
In the movie, you're having a midlife crisis. Did your wife ever say, Jim, I think gardening upstate, I think you're going through something right now?
Yeah, no, well, I think that we all kind of acknowledge that on a mental health thing, we're all going through it. Like we, you know, like some of it, it's easier as a parent to go, wow, these kids they had to wear a mask for 2 years. Well, you know that's going to affect them. But yeah, no, I mean, I think gardening was a lifesaver for me because I did it. I started it because I thought it's something I could do with my kids, but nobody came out. So it ended up being my alone time, you know.
And what do you grow now? Like, what's your green thumb?
I'm not that good at it, but I love growing peppers and cucumbers. Like, I like to grow things that are easy that I can eat. And so I do watch a lot of videos on YouTube. I'm like, all right, how do I plant carrots? You know, it's
but
amazing.
there's something thrilling about eating your own carrots.
It's so exciting. It's way more exciting for me than it is for my kids. Like, they're like, great, Dad brought in beans.
Wait till you're 40 plus
Yeah, these beans
and life
are
has
good.
passed you by and you build something from your own hands.
Yeah, they're like, I guess they're good, Dad.
We'll give him a compliment. He needs one right now. It's, you know, you did Comedy Monster, which is on Netflix. I was watching yesterday. And you know, you had this shift, not just gardening, making Linoleum, doing Comedy Monster, but there was other side of Jim Gaffigan that came out on Twitter where you're like, I don't care. The world's on fire right now. We have this dude as president, Donald Trump. He's terrible. And you went on a Twitter rant. And like, you know, I read that. I'm like, Jim Gaffigan, yes. Yeah. But it was a risk because a lot of your fans did not know that side of you.
Yeah.
You were very critical against him.
Yeah.
And you said, I don't care if you jump on and jump off the Gaffigan train. This is me.
Yeah, I think I was at home with my kids. I was, you know, like everyone, we were kind of witnessing what was occurring. And I've always had the approach that I wanted people to come to my show. I loved the idea of like the lesbian couple sitting next to the Mormon family at my shows.
Very American.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of like we can all come together and laugh at like, you know, me being lazy. But there was like a point during this emotional period where I was just like, you know what? I just don't want my kids to think that I was like, well, you know, I didn't want to lose ticket sales. But so I was like, you know, I just want to be honest. It's weird because there's two sides to it, right? Where like I intellectually believe that anyone in the entertainment industry saying vote for this person does not have an effect. But I do think that what I was witnessing was some propaganda that was kind of, I saw it having an effect, so I just wanted to call it out. And I knew that there was going to be a consequence for it. But again, I wanted to be able to look my kids in the eye. And if it all went sideways, I didn't want them to be like, you know, but I'm still selling tickets in this one city.
Daddy kept quiet because Daddy needed to sell more tickets.
Daddy needs the money.
Daddy needs 2 billion streams on Pandora.
Yeah, so it's, and I think that people that like my comedy, you know, I don't really consider people that like my comedy fans. I consider them kind of like-minded people. So I think I even think on social media, people that are like, I'm done. I'm like, were you? Because like, you know, there was, you know, or are you just saying that to kind of cause havoc?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you must get attacked. Everyone gets attacked.
All the time.
If you have an opinion,
all the time,
you're going to be attacked.
Yeah.
And, but sometimes, you know, we have to, you know, and I'm a comedian. I go on stage and I try to get approval from strangers. So it's not always there. So it was easier for me than for some people.
You know, I appreciate it, and especially as a dad, I appreciate the fact that I can always look to you and I'm like, a dude gets it. This guy gets it, and if Jim Gaffigan can survive with 5 kids, I can survive with 3. I got 30 seconds left with you. I wish I had more time, but you're a foodie. I'm a former husky pants wearing kid. I think loving food is a normal thing. We should not shame each other. We're in Austin right now.
Oh my gosh.
What are you looking forward to eating?
Well, Texas is itself a real opportunity for food, right? So there's Tex-Mex, there's barbecue converging together. But there is, I think when I'm in Austin, I kind of tend to go towards the creative taco or barbecue. So it's just...
Can't lose, man.
You can't lose. And I think I mean, even at the airport, you can get great barbecue. That's amazing.
That is a Texas feature that unfortunately is not in New York. I hope you eat well. I hope you enjoy your stay. Congratulations on Linoleum, which is coming out soon. And the premiere is actually tonight at 7:15 p.m. at the Alamo Draft House Theater on South Lamar, and will be available online for South by attendees for 48 hours, beginning tomorrow at 9 a.m. Check the schedule at schedule.sxsw.com for additional screenings. You can also check out our daily schedule of interviews on our website, sxsw.com/studio. And you can watch all of our studio interviews on the South by Southwest TV app, available on Apple TV, Roku, Android TV, and Amazon Fire. These interviews will also be available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/sxsw. Thank you, Jim Gaffigan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Thanks so much.